Right. So I'm going to talk about scaling and building a foundation. First of all, the kind of mandatory timeline. My agency MPULL, we founded 7 years ago. It was when HubSpot was still a marketing platform. So we offered the general marketing related services. And what we've seen in particular the last 2 years or so, there's been more and more need for more personalization when it comes to the content that's provided as well as what's triggering that content. So we needed to start integrating HubSpot into different systems, but we were marketers. So we didn't know much about APIs and back-end development and so on. So we started to outsource that. And eventually we ended up acquiring the back-end development agency that are part of us today. So yeah, I am still a marketer, so I'm going to try and, our CTO gave me some slides on APIs. I will try and give them justice, but yeah, that's our background. Right, so one of the best content marketing pieces is an annual report. And there's this company here called Big 7 Travel. I know Travelopia are here today. I don't think they're part of your group. And they do an annual report. And it recently got launched. And what they found is that the South African accent is the second most sexy accent in the world. So if the stuff about APIs integration bores you, at least you can hear my sexy accent for the next while. And I am going to the cricket on Wednesday in Birmingham. And the Kiwis are playing South Africa, so hopefully the score's the other way around, although currently it's not looking good for us. Right, so what we're going to talk about is the foundation, laying a foundation and how HubSpot has evolved. Then how to make your own foundation. We're going to talk about APIs. It is only 2 slides. I'm going to show you some case studies because I think that's really important to bring it to life. And then some simple integration, so extending HubSpot. Right, so normally when I've engaged with the B2B marketing lab, I normally see them all in lab coats. So I thought I was really clever when I put this slide together and said I ran an experiment. So what I did is I said to 2 people in our business, I said, please can you send an email to a customer that we're busy doing a project for and say, when are we going to get this milestone payment? So the first email that got written said, dear customer, your account is in arrears. Please remit. Failure to do so will result in interest being applied to your account and delays on your project. Regards, accountant. The second email was a little bit different. So it's much longer to start off with. It says, hi customer, I hope you're well. I'm sure you are as excited as I am to have seen the first set of test data pass between HubSpot and your provisioning system last week. We are on track to reach our next stage in just over a week, and then just 2 weeks later, your vision will be reality. Would you mind following up with your finance team on the last milestone invoice we issued? I would hate admin to slow our progress. Cheers, account management. So I don't think it takes any rocket science to work out which one got a better response. The second one is personalized. It has context. It's a whole lot more friendly. And you know, the thing is that I was kind of lying when I said that this was written by 2 individuals. It was triggered by 2 individuals, but in 2 systems and 2 templates. So the first system was an ERP system, the system that the accountant uses. And the second system was from our CRM system, which is HubSpot, which is what our account managers use. So here comes the big kind of debate on CRM versus ERP. So when a company begins, there's a whole bunch of laws that they need to they kind of stick to. There's compliance, there's reports, there's financial records they have to submit every year, and it's a big task. So what happened is, and this is many, many decades ago, the kind of invention of ERP came about. And the ERP system helps those bookkeepers, those accountants, those financial managers keep up with all that compliance. And then on the other side, you've got CRM systems. And the CRM system, that's where you managing your deals, your opportunities, your customers, your relationships, right? But after your email, the next system that you buy is your finance, your billing system, your accounting system, your ERP system. That layer gets bought as your second system because you cannot operate unless you can invoice. And you cannot be legally operating if you do not submit your annual financial records and so on, right? So what has been happening is companies have started to build and scale their businesses based on their ERP system. And you can see from those 2 example emails, ERP systems are rigid and they're not user-friendly. They're certainly not customer-friendly. So you end up with these systems that cannot deliver customer delight. And what we see now, especially with HubSpot's play and becoming more of a platform, is people are building that foundation in CRM. And rather, the CRM system triggers the billing system, the accounting systems, the ERP systems, and everything around that. Right. When it comes to customer delight, I'm a massive marketing pessimist. I think the world is becoming more and more pessimistic. We heard about the personas kind of just now, and that was mentioned. But no longer can you just put up a billboard and expect customers to come. You need to delight customers, and I think that's where that flywheel that was mentioned earlier comes into play. So there's the flywheel game. We should have a drinking game where every time we say flywheel, you have to do a shooter. HubSpot had marketing covered, and that's, as I said, started 7 years ago. As an agency, we were doing marketing. It was the marketing hub. Then a few years later, they launched the sales hub and covered sales. And then in the last year and a half or so, there's been the service hub. So the service hub is there to provide customer service, help you manage tickets, knowledge base articles, NPS, that type of thing, right? So if you look at the kind of 8 common features or functions within a business, you would see here that we've got marketing covered, sales covered, and service covered, right? The thing is that if you decide to use HubSpot as your foundational system, right, suddenly what ends up happening is it ends up touching all of the functions within a business. It does make things a whole lot more complex, but that's what happens when you start building HubSpot as that, or making HubSpot that foundational system. So how do you go about doing that? And this is where it's going to become a little bit more technical, right? So I'm going to go through 3 areas of technicalities. First of all is this thing called CRM extensions, all right? So on the left-hand side, I said right-hand, in my notes I say right-hand side, but in the left-hand side, there are those little blocks down the contact record. It also can be found in the deals record and the company record within HubSpot. If you've switched from the beta to the beta version, that's now on the left and right, which looks amazing. And what a CRM extension is it's a little application, a little web application. It's not sitting in HubSpot. Well, it's sitting in HubSpot. It's not part of HubSpot. So you can call and engage with that contact record, that company record, or that deal record without having to open up a new tab, open a new system, and it can send information about that contact, that company or deal that you're in to that web application. And it sits in one of those little squares there. You can't see it too well with the colors. So some of the things that we've used CRM extensions for, we've used it to make bookings. So booking systems, whether it's travel bookings or boardroom bookings or any type of bookings you can book from the CRM extension. See the status of account, right? So has this customer paid? Are they overdue? Because if you're a salesperson and you've got a customer that's wanting to buy more from you, but they owe your company a whole bunch of money, how are you supposed to know that you shouldn't really be trying to sell to this customer right now? So integrating with a finance or ERP system so you can see what is the status of this account. Patient record. So in the US in particular, anything about medical has to be HIPAA compliant. It's not the same as GDPR, but it's same vibe. So we do a huge amount of work in the senior living space. Now, the senior living homes want to have that single customer view. They want to see that Granny is staying in apartment 4B, but they also need to know that she's taken a paracetamol and various things about it. Now, you cannot hold that in HubSpot, so we've built that as a HIPAA-compliant CRM extension. The other thing is creating legal documents. So you can do that if you're using something like PandaDoc, but maybe there's a specific system that you need to create a legal document from. And then last of all is WhatsApp messages. So that's growing hugely, and you can actually build little messaging tools, whether it's WhatsApp, SMS, and so on, within that contact record. Right, the next thing is contact, custom fields. So you can create unlimited custom fields in HubSpot. So also on the contact record, company record, deal record, and tickets record if you're using Service Hub, right? So with these custom fields, you can either get someone to update them manually, you can turn them into calculated fields, you can use an API or script to populate them with data from other systems, or you can import a CSV or something like that. And then the next section is APIs, right? So let me go on to the next slide. So APIs, for those of you that don't know, it stands for Application Programming Interface. It allows systems to speak with one another. It allows you to expose data, so information in HubSpot, but also functionality on the other side. So an example, if you are an airline and you create a check-in API, you can expose that to any of your partners, Uber as an example, where somebody can go onto the app, type in a flight number, a booking reference number, and it can check you in and supply you with an electronic boarding pass. You don't have to go onto the airline's website to be able to do that. And then APIs are kind of they're language agnostic. So your system could be written in .NET as an example. The system you want to integrate into is in Java. They can't normally speak to each other. They're also platform agnostic. So you can have one system built on Microsoft and another one on Linux, and you can get them to speak. So you've kind of got like these two systems. They're a little bit awkward. They end up talking to each other through an API, kind of like Tinder for software. Right, so the HubSpot API, it's a really good API. Brian has arrived, so I need to say that. You can head over to developers.hubspot.com. It's very well documented over there. And what's great is you can kind of do everything that is in the HubSpot web application, as well as everything that's in the mobile application via the API. So you don't have to log into the system. The other thing is there's certain functionality that's not available at all through the web or mobile applications, such as the e-commerce bridge. So if any of you have e-commerce stores and you want to use HubSpot to manage that store and communicate and so on, there's an e-commerce bridge API. And then one of the other really cool features of the HubSpot APIs is you can actually configure HubSpot with their API. So you can set up those custom fields and so on, deal stages and so on using their APIs. So as I said, like this can go very technical, and I've only got a technical knowledge like this. So I thought rather give you some case studies. So one of my favorite projects that we've worked on is a wine farm out in South Africa called Babylonstorn. There is a new farm opening up in Bath called the Newt, owned with the same owners and also running off the same infrastructure. It opens up in July. So this wine farm, it's a whole experiential type thing. They grow all the food that's offered in the restaurants there. There's a hotel. There's obviously wine. They've got a spa. There's Wi-Fi throughout the farm. They've got e-commerce and so on. And each one of these business units were running off a different business system. So the hotel was running off Oracle Opera. The restaurants were running off a restaurant management system called ResDiary. The spa was running off Acuity. The Wi-Fi was running off some sort of Cisco Wi-Fi. And there was all this customer data sitting in these different places. So they came to us and said, what we want to do is we want to increase the share of wallet. We want customers to spend more with us, and they want us to spend, they must come back more often. So what we did is we got all those different systems, and using their APIs, we pulled all that data, or pulled, depending on what the system allowed us to do, into HubSpot. So we got that single customer view. So suddenly we could see that guest A has booked 2 weeks in the hotel, but they have not booked into the hotel yet. I mean, into the restaurant yet. And so what we did then is built customer journeys where first of all they got sent an email to say, hey, don't forget to book into the restaurant. Then if they didn't respond to that, the Facebook remarketing with HubSpot lists kicked in, and when they started to see our banners the whole time. Then if they still didn't respond to that, they got sent a text message. And if they still didn't respond to that, we actually created a task for the concierge who would phone them and say, look, this is a popular restaurant. If you don't book, there's going to be no space for you. The other problem that they had is everybody was being treated the same. So if I was a hotel guest and it's expensive to stay there, well, not for you guys, you've got pounds, I've got rands. So someone would be spending a whole bunch of money in the hotel, and they'd go to the coffee shop, and they'd get treated exactly the same as everybody else, as opposed to getting treated a little bit more like a VIP. And then they also started using the Service Hub, because if you are a hotel guest and you end up in your room and there's a problem, how the hotel was operating before is housekeeping would be called, they would come, they'd fix the problem, and no one would have any record of it. Now what happens is when there's a problem, it gets logged as a service ticket, it gets resolved, and that night when you go to the restaurant, maybe you get offered a free glass of champagne to say sorry for what happened earlier. So there's that single customer view now, and it's working incredibly well. Their NPS score has increased. As I said, you can go and experience yourself in Bath from July. The next example is a real estate company. It's a franchise. There were 400 franchises. They were all running different ways of tracking their buyers and sellers. They had spreadsheets. Some of them had those kind of simple CRM systems that you can sign up online with, and there was no way for the head office to actually assist the different franchisees. So what we did there is we rolled out the HubSpot freemium CRM to 400 franchisees. So now they all got the same pipeline. They can manage their clients. Real estate agents are real competitive, so they didn't want to put everybody in the same portal and they can see information and so on. So everybody's got the HubSpot free CRM, and every night we have a script that runs that syncs all that data into the headquarters main paid for HubSpot portal, and that way the commissions are calculated that way. There's various automations that run that communicate to the customers, so they've got a single brand message. And we actually looked at doing this for several companies. So if you've got a channel program where you've got resellers that are reselling your product, it's a very effective way to manage your resellers. The next is a financial services company called 10X. They were seeing huge growth, and they needed to look at a way to scale their business. They started off using the Marketing Hub and saw the value there, rolled out the Sales Hub next. Right now they've got I think they've got about 150, I think I read 100 there, yeah, about 150 workflows running that's completely automating their business. So a new client comes on board. What happens is they've got a trading desk, they trade in with your savings. That client automatically gets created in that software. Nobody has to retype that information. They manage their debit orders, get triggered from HubSpot, and they've got claims via the Service Hub. But what was really interesting was their medical examinations. So when you sign up for a retirement plan, you need to go for a medical and so on, and they're actually managing all their nurses and so on that go out to see people in their office to get their blood pressure checked and so on via HubSpot. Then this is a really interesting one. It's the Alan Gray Foundation, and they've developed a game to promote entrepreneurship. And their issue was they've got a great communications team, but every single time they wanted to communicate to the players in the game, and there are hundreds, thousands of players, they would have to ask the developers, it would go into a backlog, and they'd have to ask the developers to please go and update this emailer. And then the developers would say, well, do you want this new feature, or do you want this email? And so the marketing and the communication kept on getting to the bottom of that development backlog. So what we've done there is we have hooked up each of the levels in this game. So it's a gamified entrepreneurship challenge where the learners go through different tasks and tests and so on. And we've hooked that up into a HubSpot sales pipeline. And each stage in the sales pipeline represents a level in this game. So now the marketers are in complete control. As a deal record, which is a player, moves through the game, they are able to go in, click edit, change the email. They can add that kind of Facebook remarketing and so on. They can really communicate well with their players. Right. So the stuff I've spoken to date is all around deep integrations that require APIs and so on. But there's an easier way that you can start playing with extending HubSpot, right? HubSpot has what they call the Connect Hub. If you go to, I think it's HubSpot/integrations, there's about 318 when I took the screenshots last week, different integrations available. So one of the things that I do when I get a new customer and we're looking to do some new things with them is I always go into this page and I sort by date added and I see what's new. And it's amazing how that kind of creates ideas. I should add this to the strategy, to the blueprint, the architecture. So, I know it's kind of geeky, but I encourage you, once a quarter, head over to that page, sort by recently added, and you get a whole bunch of really cool ideas. So what I've done is I picked out 5 or 6 of my kind of favorite integrations that are currently available. Most of them are sales and marketing related, and they're obviously all none of them integrate, or none of them are custom integrations into your own bespoke software. So the first one, it's recently added, it's called 360 NRS. It's an SMS integration. So there are several integrations that allow you to send SMSs. I like the way that this one was set up. So you can trigger SMSs from workflows. You can send SMSs from contact records. And you see the record of that SMS in a timeline. It's really, really easy to implement, and they've got global numbers. So I know one of the integrations before this, all the messages came from an Australian number, but this one comes from wherever you are, wherever the contact record is. You can use this one. The next one is actually 2 integrations, Sendoso and Presley, where you can actually send physical things, direct mailers, gifts, branded stuff to prospects and to customers, triggered in a workflow. So you don't need to keep stock of this stuff. It can get laser printed and delivered. So in a world that where there's so much electronic communication, you can kind of easily stand out by adding physical mail to your plans. We've been doing a huge amount of work also with companies that need to manage appointments, so doctors, plumbers, spas, that type of thing. So, and every single time, like with the Babylon store example, they were using a system called Acuity to manage different people doing the spa treatments and so on. Setmore has built a ready-to-use integration into HubSpot. So if you have consultants or hairdressers or doctors or anything and you want to use HubSpot, you can install the Setmore integration. Then Bob mentioned the Slack integration. It's really cool, and I stole that animated GIF from the HubSpot website. So much is done in Slack nowadays. If you install the Slack notification, the Slack integration, get notifications as things happen, as deals are won. We had on our own Slack channel, we have a sales channel, and when we sign a new customer, the account manager that signs it goes and says, "Hey, just signed this customer," and then people go, "Well done," and so on. I mean, like, what if they forget to do that or they don't have time to do that? So using the Slack integration, you can just push messages into Slack from HubSpot. You can also, their live chat, instead of you don't have to go into the app to chat, you can use Slack. And then you can actually create deals, create tickets, and so on from Slack using kind of short codes and so on. Then Vidyard, that HubSpot announced at the Inbound conference last year, their deep integration with Vidyard. You can kind of send one-to-one videos using Vidyard. If you are also a Vidyard customer, so you're on the kind of premium product, one of the really cool things you can do is trigger workflows from video, how far a video has been watched. So if somebody starts watching your video and they leave, you can enroll them into a certain workflow and communicate to them in a certain way. If they watch 100% of the video, not only can you pop up a form within that video, but then you can enroll them into a different workflow. It's a really cool integration. Then PandaDoc is one of the oldest integrations, but if you need things electronically signed, legal documents, that type of thing, install the PandaDoc integration. It takes any fields, any data in HubSpot and pre-populates it in that document, so there's no retyping. Then CallRail, so if you get in calls, besides people filling out forms and chatting and so on, if people phone your business and you want to be able to attribute that to marketing activity, install CallRail, create a custom number, and you're able to track which leads are coming from phone calls. You can create telephone numbers for specific billboards if you had billboards, so you can actually start tracking exactly where those prospects are coming from. And then my last one, which is one of my favorites at the moment, is called FOMO. And it's one of my favorites because it's all around, things have evolved all around social proof. So there's G2 Crowd and Capterra and all these different platforms where you can go and see what do other people say about this. And what FOMO does is it integrates with your HubSpot, and as people are buying things, as people are doing things, you're creating contacts and so on, you can't see it too well, but a little pop-up like that comes in the whatever corner you select on your website, and it says you can type whatever you wanted to say, but it says something like, Daryn just became a customer. Daryn is inquiring about this product, and it creates that kind of FOMO and shows that social proof that others are interested in this. So it's really easily installed. It's really effective. And kind of immediately brings the fact that you've got other people using this product kind of to the front. So with that, thank you very much.